Peace and blessings, beautiful souls. I am Brandi L. Bates, and you are now listening to Power Podcasts. Subscribe to these podcasts on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Podomatic.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Soledad Francis and on Instagram at Brandi is Winning. Also, most of these podcasts are archived on YouTube via the I Am Brandi Bates YouTube channel. So be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and share with your folks. Today we're talking about the Doer's Manifesto. The Doer's Manifesto. Doers! As we approach the final few weeks of 2017, you have a rare opportunity to release your old self, connect to the true self, your authentic self, the true you, and set your trajectory for incredible spiritual growth and abundance in 2018. Never lower your target. Increase your actions. I know I talk a lot about goals and aspirations and your vision, having a vision board, having multiple vision boards, having 101 goals and places you want to go, things you want to do, what you want to accomplish, what you would like to become, be, do, and have. It's important to remember that as you live your life and you attempt to achieve your goals, that you are going to come against opposition and adversaries and obstacles and all types of dragons at the end of each board, right? And I just want to remind you to, no matter what your situation is, no matter what you're up against, no matter who you are, where you are, no matter your upbringing, your background, your race, your ethnicity, your gender, your sexuality, no matter if you have money or you don't have money, whether you're educated or you're uneducated, whether you have important, powerful, influential parents, or you just come from a small village, never lower your target. Don't change your goals because it gets tough or it gets hard or it gets difficult or it gets hairy. Increase your actions. Your actions. I didn't say increase your words. I didn't say increase how much money you spend. I didn't say go back to school. I didn't say think your way out of it, but increase your actions. Because the more you do, you'll find out what works, what doesn't work. It puts you ahead of the curve because most people are lazy. Most people are content with putting forth very little effort. And in truth and reality, the difficulties that most of us have are already set up in our minds before we attempt things. You see, now is a time for dissolution, a time to release any past energetic entanglements that are holding you back. And that's to make way for incredible abundance and growth as you sell into 2018. Why now? Now, number one, we are in what's known in some circles as Scorpio season. We are, when you break down the calendar or you break down the seasons, we are in the time of darkness, in the time of the ego mind. A time where things are beginning to recede. Things are beginning to, you notice the trees, the leaves are changing colors in many places, and the temperature is dropping, and things are beginning to go into hibernation and prepare for hibernation. This is a time to release past entanglements, not just from your immediate past, but childhood trauma, old beliefs, old paradigms that no longer serve you. And the more you feel right now, because a lot of you right now, you're going through a lot financially, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, in your family, with your loved ones, you name it, in your career, at school, at home. And so I'm saying to you, the more you feel, the more you are experiencing and undergoing right now, the more you are about to transform, the larger your coming years will be. Transformative in every way. All behavior has a context. Most psychologists and psychoanalysts know this. All behavior, everything that we do. When you see the little bad kid in the neighborhood, or you see the constant liar or cheater or whatever, that behavior has come from somewhere. It was developed. And the reason why many people do things, first of all, look at your habits. I'm reading a really interesting book about habit. I meant to write the title down. I will indicate it in the notes when we get this uploaded onto YouTube and in the notes for the podcast. But there's a book I'm reading right now about habits and how everything you want to achieve in your life is going to come through your habits, because everything you've ever done or accomplished in this life, in your reality, has come from habits. If you think about your life, it's built on habitual actions you are taking and habitual things you are doing as a doer each and every day. So for some of us, every day, habitually, we get up, we take a shower or a hot bath, we brush our teeth, we wash our face, right? Habitually, you have to eat. Some people habitually eat breakfast. Some people habitually wake and bake, right? Some people habitually smoke when they wake up. Some people habitually read a lot of books. Some people are habitual liars, habitual deceivers. These are what form your character. What you do every day forms your character, and ultimately it forms your destiny. Oh yeah, it forms your destiny. It forms your future. So when you tell me what your habits are and you share with me what you do habitually, what's programmed, ingrained, and entrained, I can tell you what your future will probably look like. I want to touch on this. We're living in a time of cybernetic warfare, folks. Research psychotronics. We are being, as of today, and I don't know when you're listening to this. You know, my future children and grandchildren may be listening to this years down the line, but at this time, in the year of 2017, we are being inundated with exotic covert energy weapons, folks. It doesn't matter if you are in North America or South Africa or the Middle East or Central America or Jamaica or the Caribbean. We are all being inundated with exotic covert energy weapons, folks. And what is the next great weapon after nukes? It is directed energy. Directed energy. So when you turn on your television or log into your favorite social network, you will notice a dramatic increase of so-called mass killings, execution style active shooter situations, right? Why all of a sudden is Call of Duty becoming our reality? Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed, the video games, and I only know about these because of my son. He loves to play Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty. And more we're seeing that these video games are becoming a part of our day-to-day paradigm, our day-to-day reality. And it's chilling because a lot of this has been pre-programmed through predictive programming as well as created. The circumstances and the situations have been created. And it's not just, again, an American phenomenon. It's happening all over the world. It didn't become a problem until it became, innocent lives, innocent children, innocent babies, men and women who just got up and went to church, went to Bible study, went to the movies, went to school, are being systematically annihilated. All of them seemingly, right, out of the blue, unconnected, random. And I'm here to tell you that they are neither random nor unique. The individuals are not mentally ill. This is bigger than mental illness, because all mentally ill people do not pick up automatic rifles and, semi-automatic weapons and shoot up innocent people. We're not gonna put that on the mentally ill. I know real life mentally ill people, and a lot of it, some of it is hereditary, some of it is merely a diagnosis, some of it is hormonal and a chemical imbalance, if you will. But saying somebody who shot up a church or just shot up random strangers is mentally ill, it's a cop-out, and it's an easy way to say, oh, they're mentally ill, they're sick. Oh well, sending thoughts and prayers, right? Sending positive thoughts and prayers. But that doesn't get to the root of the problem. That does not get to the root of the issue, the root cause, why this is happening more frequently. And I'm here to tell you that these individuals who commit these crimes are merely targeted individuals. Many of them, not all of them, but many of them are targeted individuals. They all have the same hallmarks and the same MO, okay? All of them are typically ex-military. If you look at many of the active shooters or mass shootings, if you go back far enough, you'll see a lot of them are ex-military. They used to be in the Army or the Navy or Coast Guard. Folks, you must be careful when sending your children to join the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force. Now, don't get me wrong. Much respect to our veterans. My grandfather was a vet, and I have uncles who served. People very close to me are in the military. All due respect. But you have to understand there's a side of the military that they depict, and the side that is black ops, psyops, and they do not share with the public. And you have so many veterans coming out of the Navy and the Army and the Air Force and telling their stories. It's real funny. We get real patriotic and political defending the veterans, but when they come home, we treat them like shit, right? We treat them like shit. When the vets came back from Vietnam, many of them were hooked on psychotropics and, addicted to drugs and things because of the things they had to witness, for fighting a war that had nothing to do with them, fighting a banker's war. Most wars are banker's wars. And we send our poor, we send the people who have political disenfranchised and are powerless. And we send them to die first. We put them on the front lines. The political power players and the elite of this system, they don't put their children in the military. They don't send their children to the military. You look at many of your presidents, and leadership and very, very wealthy, they never send their children to the military. And there's a reason for that. But you'll notice that many of these mass shooters are always male. When is the last time you've seen a female serial killer, a female mass shooter, a female lone wolf? Don't worry. I'll wait. Typically Caucasian, and you'll notice many of them lack all emotion. When they're interviewed, there are no tears, no remorse, or any type of guilt. Also, you'll notice that the number of lives taken are growing dramatically. And this reminds me of Catcher in the Rye. Why is it that so many of our sleeper assassins and so-called Manchurian candidates have been in possession of the book Catcher in the Rye? You look at the guy who attempted to kill Ronald Reagan back in the 80s. He had the Catcher in the Rye. And the guy the patsy who was taken down for killing JFK, he was in possession, of John Lennon. He was in possession of Catcher in the Rye. So we need to look at Catcher in the Rye as a trigger. On September 16th, 2013, Aaron Alexis, the one black man, the one black lone shooter, and he stands out to me for a lot of reasons. But Aaron Alexis, right, he fatally shot 12 people and injured 3 others in the Washington Navy Yard using a shotgun, right, on which he wrote on the shotgun, my ELF weapon, my ELF weapon, as in extremely low frequency, before killing by responding police officers. And then on February 20th, 2016, Jason Brian Dalton, an Uber driver, was accused in a deadly shooting spree, right, in which 6 people were killed. So we were, in the single digit numbers, and then we started working up, and 2 others were injured in the Kalamazoo County, Michigan shooting. And this particular man, he blamed his actions on his Uber mobile app, Uber, right? Which uses a symbol that he said it resembled the Order of the Eastern Star, right? So he said it was, it's the Masons. And he claimed it took over his body after he pressed the button of the new app, and he said it resembled the devil. This is what this man said. Now pay attention. I promise you I'm pulling it all together for a reason. But men like James Holmes and Dylan Storm Roof, I've spoke on this before. These men are CIA sleeper assassins, and understand a sleeper agent is a spy who is trained to kill. He's a trained assassin, trained to kill, and is placed in a target country or city or organization. Again, a lot of them ex-military. And a lot of them will not tell you and share with you the type of programming tactics that many of them have to go through. Still today, the level of technology is astounding. And so these men act as a potential asset if they're activated. So when they're living their normal lives, they're not thinking about any of this. They think they're normal just like you and I or the next man or woman, but then they get activated. They're activated, they're triggered, and they all have a set of instructions written into their personalities and embedded via a type of hypnosis. This is what we're seeing today, folks. This is what we are seeing today. And many of them have no idea that they're Manchurian candidates, because their subconscious mind has been fractured into multiple personalities, and the subject will become what they call an overwrite upon his own personality. And an overwrite is a new identity or personality. Just like in computer coding, you can overwrite a code, right? And so it's like having multiple personalities, except the original personality, the person who you grew up knowing, is repressed. So they bring up these alter personalities, or hidden under the overwrite, and will not surface for a set period of time. Okay? And that's determined by a programmer. Okay? And so many politicians and government officials on a worldwide level, globally, have been given new agendas. Many of them. You talk about Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, and what's going on in the States, what's going on in the Middle East, what is going on in Russia, with regards to North Korea and Iran and Puerto Rico. Many of these politicians have been given new agendas through the use of what's known as a level 4 type of programming. And their own beliefs are replaced with the agenda of the programmers. And so then they're given superhuman talents, such as they might get, photographic memory, or the ability to lie convincingly, no matter what type of trauma you're put under, you won't crack. And so even President Clinton is an example of a world leader who had been programmed with this same type of technique. Senator John McCain, Secretary of State Madeleine Albright. These are all examples of an agenda overlay or overwrite being overwritten onto the subject's own personality. And in the cases of these people, their own personalities and memories, they're still present to a large extent, although childhood and early adolescent memories sometimes are erased when this technique is used. That's why some people, they'll go through an experience, an extremely traumatic experience in your life can cause certain childhood memories to be either erased, or you believe it happened totally different than it happened. That's another conversation. But so once these future leaders are programmed, they can be recalled on a yearly basis, or every 2 years, every 4 years, or 10 years down the line, right? And given these hypnotic reinforcements of the original programming, or new programming will be inserted to modify the original programs. Many of you have seen the movie Get Out, and they deal with it on a very, very subtle level. They just barely scratch the surface of how this is done. But this is a very real thing, folks. You can learn, you can be trained, and you can learn how to hypnotize someone. There are very, very powerful programmers. They're basically like sorcerers. The ancestors would have called them sorcerers. But they are, they're able to put you in a hypnotic state and, by all intents and purposes, program you. So this is what we're living. This is the time we're living in, folks. This is the political and sociological context in which we find ourselves. And so you guys must watch the movie Split, featuring James McAvoy, directed by M. Night Shyamalan. It's about a man who suffers, no spoilers, but it is about a man who suffers from multiple personality disorder, or dissociative disorder, split personalities. Also research Operation Open Eyes. Operation Open Eyes. And many of you, if you haven't already done so, you might want to go back and watch the movie Manchurian Candidate with Denzel Washington. The Manchurian Candidate. Manchurian Candidate. Must see. Also, research in your spare times when you flipping through Instagram and you ain't got shit else to do, right? Research Project Clear Eyes. 1984 should be required reading for everyone these days in 2017 out in these streets. We live in a world that George Orwell predicted in 1984, folks. The police now have a device that can read license plates and check if a car is unregistered, uninsured, or stolen, right? They can already read that shit. So before the blue lights get behind you, understand they've already read they've scanned your whole shit. They've read your license. Your license plate tells them everything they need to know. If you paid for your tags, if you have warrants, you name it. That's why you must register your vehicle. It's a system of control. We already know that the National Security Agency, right, the NSA, can dip into your Facebook page at will, willy-nilly. They can dip into your Google searches. All major social networks are a part of the NSA's program. That includes Twitter, Facebook, Yahoo, Google, Gmail. And it seems that almost every store we get into these days, they want to know your home number. They want to know, can you give me your phone number? Give me your zip code. What is your zip code? And that's part of any transaction. It doesn't matter if you're going to get nail polish, Are you going to, buy your kale and your carrots? Going to get your green juice on? And why do you need to know my zip code? I'm just buying some batteries, right? And in the novel 1984, nearly all public and private places have large TV screens or monitors. This is from the book, 1984. Everywhere you go has these monitors that broadcast government propaganda, the news, approved entertainment. But they're also, these screens in the book, they act as two-way monitors that are actually spying on the citizens' private lives. And how many of you know most smart televisions, most smart TVs they can be activated or triggered to be two-way monitors. So can your laptops and your desktops and most of your phones and devices. And everyone who programs knows this. People, true programmers, they know this. Those who are in the know, that's why a lot of them, their kids, they will not allow their children to have iPads and tablets. They will not, be on social networks. You're like, how are you, this important and influential and you don't have a Facebook, or you don't do things on the computer. Very little things, you're very private and covert about it, because they know what's really going down. And they don't want to put themselves out there. You've heard stories about women who've later found, their nudes out there leaked. Or, their escapades in the bed found on grudge porn sites. Where's this information coming from? How are they able to go and see these people undressing, or you taking a shower? Because they're two-way monitors, folks. So when you see CNN, you see you go to the gym, right? You go to the gym and all you see is monitors all over the place. And it's got, CNN going on one channel and Sports Center on the next channel and Fox News on the next channel. This was all prophesied, predictive programming, folks, in 1984. If you have not already done so, get your hands on 1984. If you haven't read it since high school, go back and read it again as an adult, as an enlightened, evolved individual. Newspeak, the fictional stripped down English language in the book, used to limit free thought. And so what do we type each other every day? OMG. Are you serious? R, the letter R and the letter U. That's so FUBAR, right? LMA, oh, laughing my ass off. This is how we talk now. Newspeak. The endless war. In Orwell's book, there's a global war that has been going on seemingly forever, right? And as the book's hero, Winston Smith, he realizes the enemy keeps changing, but it's endless war. So one week we're at war with East Asia and buddies with Eurasia, the next week it's the opposite. There seems little to distinguish the two adversaries, and they're used primarily to keep the populace of Oceania, where Smith lives, in a constant state of fear, thereby making dissent unthinkable or punishable. And so today we have the so-called war on terror with no end in sight. And it's this just a constant generalized societal fear. And so what they do is they'll trigger some of these shootings, mass shooter in France, mass shooter in London, mass shooter in New York or Washington, D.C. or Texas, right? Mass shootings and mass murderers, wilding out in West Africa. And so every couple of years, the enemy changes. So in 2017, it's ISIS. But in 2007, it was Taliban. And in 1997 or 1987, it was the communists, right? Every couple of years, the boogeyman changes, the enemy changes. But always endless war. And the product of those wars is always suspension of civil liberties and an ill-defined enemy who could be anywhere. It could be anything. It could be, you know, the man across the street who look a little, you know, a little low key crazy. He might be a lunatic and shoot up the grocery store one day. And so they're just constantly putting this fear on top of fear on top of fear to keep you just paralyzed. And understand with the sleeper assassin Manchurian candidates, what we're seeing a lot of. I'm just touching on this because we're noticing now the rate at which this is happening is just out of control. And I have to touch on it. Through a combination of hypnosis and powerful drugs. I'm talking more powerful than anything you're used to on the streets. It was discovered that a human subject could in fact be programmed to kill at hearing a trigger word or a command that had been planted in the subject's mind through intensive programming effort. And so Catcher in the Rye is a trigger for many of these individuals. It might be the McDonald's arches. It might be the sound of this song from Alice in Wonderland. It may be a Disneyland balloon. But the subjects they're often mental patients, right, with a history of drug use, which that makes it easier to cover the trail, you know, the programming, since, you know, a lot of times these people isolated, they're troubled, you know, no one knows them. A lot of times they don't have families, you notice that, and a lot of them have a history of quote unquote mental illness. Many of them, the guy who so-called shot up Sandy Hook, this kid was apparently on all types of drugs for his mental illness. And so no one cares about him. No one would believe them if they say, you know what, they went in and did something to my head. They went in and programmed me. You know, they tortured me. We didn't believe that American soldiers were torturing people until we saw the video footage from Guantanamo. And, you know, people been saying for years what the police do behind closed doors. You know, what certain prosecutors do behind closed doors. And nobody believes them because a lot of times it's coming from somebody who's a criminal. So you're like, you know, they full of shit. You know, or, oh, well, they must have deserved it. But really understand what these people are saying to you and telling us. Folks, we are collectively moving toward a technocratic, communitarian, cybernated society. This is a time of super capitalism. Super capitalism. This is a time where you must educate yourself on cryptocurrency at the very basic 101 levels. They're not going to teach this to you in your high school class. They're not going to teach this to you in your employee training book. You have to educate yourself. We're all being lulled into a deep subconscious sleep paralysis. All of us, on all levels, all classes. The poor, the middle class, the very wealthy, the elites, you name it. No one is exempt. Just like no one is exempt from breathing air that we all have to breathe. No one is exempt from, you know, the water you use to shower and bathe and wash your dishes in. We're all having to breathe the same air. When it rains on all of us, right? But this subconscious sleep paralysis has resulted in record numbers of depression. You're seeing depression like never before. Record numbers of drug use, the so-called opioid crisis. It's a crisis now, but it wasn't a crisis when crack was. But you know what? Never mind. And we're seeing an increase in the suicide rate like never before. Babies, 8 and 9-year-olds killing themselves. Where is this coming from? This is what we're talking about. This is what we're up against. These are the obstacles. When I'm saying obstacles and adversaries and opponents, this is what I'm saying. Also, you'll notice an increase in not only the exposure of the quote unquote casting couch phenomenon, as well as the many closeted sex addicts and pedophiles and these extremely rich, powerful, wealthy predators. Not only are we seeing more of that being exposed, we're seeing more of it happening. I think it's really telling when, we pick and choose what we're going to demonize. We pick and choose what we're going to vilify. But then certain things we keep protected. And many of us, our families and in the workplace, and when you see this shit happening in Hollywood and you see it happening in politics with our, political leaders, understand that's just a macrocosm of what's happening to the regular, ordinary Joe. In churches where we see child predators for years get away with molesting young children. Men who live ordinary, regular lives on the outside with a wife and children who are messing around with somebody's little boy. Let's talk about it. Let's get it out in the air, get it out in the open and talk about it so we can deal with it. And nobody talks about it. We pick and choose what we're going to say. Oh, that's wrong. That's foul. That's, we living in strange times and all this shit. But then we protect these pedophiles. And one thing I can say is, for me, I can forgive a lot of things, but I cannot forgive a child predator, a pedophile. But what we lose sight of is many of these people, these pedophiles and predators, they were victimized. Somebody did it to them. And so it creates this endless cycle. Those individuals who molest children and molest women and rape women, oftentimes they were molested. Or they witnessed rape. They witnessed abuse. And so why is this suddenly hitting the fan the way it is? So these are things we have to question and we have to deal with and we have to get to the root of it. Doers. All my doers, if you're listening to this. Albert Einstein once said, "It is entirely possible that behind the perception of our senses, worlds are hidden of which we are unaware." It turns out that there is a biological interaction at many different levels with many different waveforms. What does that mean? And this is why the trigger words presented in television and online ads are so effective. Folks, you got to start guarding your children and protect yourself, protect your psyche, protect your spirit, protect your happiness, guard your sanity, guard your mental. By being careful what you take in from the TV, from the television programming, and from online ads, the little pop-ups, shit you see on your timeline. This is by design. There are certain trigger words and things that won't touch you consciously, but your subconscious mind is picking it up. Your subconscious mind never sleeps. Your subconscious mind never goes on summer break, winter break. Your subconscious mind is awake morning, noon, and night. Never sleeps. 365, 7 days a week, all year. And it's picking up everything. Human beings are limited only by what we allow ourselves to be limited by. And that's our own minds. Folks, we are each masters of our own reality. And when we become self-aware to this, absolutely anything in the world is possible. And so you have to begin to master yourself and become king or queen of the world around you. Let no odds, chastisement, exile, doubt, fear, none of that shit Any mental virus, let no mental virus prevent you from accomplishing your dreams. And I don't mean to say that in a shallow guru type of way. I'm saying refuse to allow yourself to be a victim of this life. Refuse to allow yourself to be a victim of this world system. Yes, we see it happening, but you don't have to fall prey to the designs that it has on you. You are far more than you appear to be. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to keep tweeting it. I'm going to keep posting it. You are far more than you appear to be. Just like if I say to you, repeat the word sunshine. Sunshine. Say it, sunshine. Now say it without saying it with your lips. Say it with your mouth closed. That voice that said sunshine, that's the real you. You can see the sunshine. You can feel it. You can feel its warmth. When you close your eyes, you close your mouth, and you say the word sunshine, that is your subconscious mind talking. And it can see the sunshine. It can feel the warmth of the sunshine. It can experience it even with you sitting in your room or sitting in your car or riding the train or in your cubicle, because that's the real you. The mind has no firewall. And so that means the human body, much like a computer, contains all types of data processors. And they include, but are not limited to, the chemical electrical activity of the brain, of the heart, peripheral nervous systems, the signals sent from the cortex region of the brain to other parts of our bodies, the tiny hair cells, the follicles in the inner ear that process auditory signals, and the light sensitive retina and cornea of the eye that process visual activity. All of this is going on even when you're asleep. So the doers, doing the opposite of what the 95% is doing, is your smartest move as a creative entity at any time, all the time. Doing the opposite of what 95% of the population is doing. And that's on every level. Financially, in your relationship. Don't do what everybody else is doing. Do the opposite. Because most people's relationships are on ice. It's not working. It's smoke and mirrors. Most people, a lot of people are broke. A lot of people are, they live in a lie. They live in one way, a facade that they present, their representative, and then it's how they really are, right? And so just don't do what everybody else is doing. Take up one idea. Make that one idea your life. Dream of it, think of it, meditate on it, live on that idea. Let the brain, the body, the mind, the muscles, your nerves, every part of your body be full of that idea, that concept. And just leave every other idea alone. This is the way to success. This is the way to lasting happiness, inner peace. This is the way to transcendence. This is the way of the doer. This is the way great spiritual giants are produced. And entrepreneurs, artists, musicians, producers, don't ever alienate your brand. That means always stay authentic to your core audience, your core fan base, your core supporters, those who have plugged into your culture. Whatever you built your following on, always stay true to that platform, to that culture, to that spirit. Get back to doing what you're here to do. Doing what you love. Doing you in a way that can never be remixed, remastered, or renovated. The further you move away from what you're here to do, and only you know why you're here. Stop stop allowing other people to tell you what your purpose is. We see somebody living large, or we see somebody on TV, or in our communities live in a certain kind of way, and we compare and contrast, our goals and aspirations and purpose to that of theirs. No, stay in your lane. Because the further you move away from what you're here to do, the more painful life will be for you. And it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter. You can have friends and family and be well loved and connected. But if you are veering away from your true, authentic purpose, why you're here on this planet at this time, you will never have peace. There is more opportunity now than ever before, thanks in part to the World Wide Web, thanks in part to technological advancements. But obstacles will come your way. Adversaries will be there, guaranteed, every step of the way. But I want you to start thinking of them as gifts. They will make you stronger. They will make you more creative. And so rather than breaking you, your obstacles, your adversaries, your adversity comes to define you. I always say, where would we be without our nemesis? Be grateful for the nemesis. The more you stay authentic to your core, though, the more fulfilling your life will be. And so keep evolving as an artist. Each project should demonstrate your progression as an artist. If you're an author or writer, every piece, every poem, every book needs to be building upon the last book and being better and better and better. Every project that you work on, it should demonstrate you're progressing as an entity, like a spiritual ascension. It should look like your body of work should look like a pyramid where, it just gets better and better and more focused and more pristine. And everything hinges on what type of doer you are. Understand, everything hinges on what type of doer you are. Be a doer. Don't talk about it. Don't tweet about it. Don't sit up and be an armchair activist, keyboard pimps, right? But then when you're called to the carpet to do some shit, you get ghosts. You're not there. You're not showing up. Doers do things. Doers create. Doers build movements and eat, sleep, and breathe their craft. And define your silver lining. Define your silver lining, knowing that you can program your subconscious mind to be as efficient and effective through repetition and extreme emotion. Knowing this, how will you begin to program yourself to be a doer? If you're already a doer, how can you become more of a doer? How can you become more effective? How can you become more streamlined and efficient at what you came here to do? And so each work or each iteration must pass through these stages. And we see this with all the greats in history, where first there's ridicule, there's opposition, and then there's acceptance. Those who think ahead of their time are sure to be misunderstood. It comes with the territory. Expect it. Embrace it. 80% of your time is spent on things that you are not good at. 20% of your time is spent on the things you are extremely good at. And in order to get more done, you have to flip that equation. The 80-20 rule applies to every aspect of our lives. And one thing we know for sure, the great doers like Shakespeare, Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Bach, Galileo, Einstein, Shaka Zulu, Marcus Garvey, Leonardo da Vinci, Steve Jobs, Jimi Hendrix, all have had certain characteristics in common. They all moved to the beat of their own drum. They all went against the grain and defined their own silver lining. And so take this with you today. You must grow from the inside out. Doers. You must grow from the inside out. You're not going to get it from this world system. You're not going to get it from society. No one can teach you. No one can make you spiritual. No one can grow you but you. There is no teacher but your own soul. And a lot of this you already know. And I just seek to help you to remember who you are and why you're here. Thank you for listening. Have an amazing, beautifully blessed day. Thanks for rocking with me. Thanks for listening. Peace.